So, welcome, Ben King. Thank you for being my guest today on Stress Reduction TV.
You're most welcome. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So, Ben is U.S. Army veteran, served in Iraq 2006 and 2007. First of all, that video that you just saw was from his website, Armor Down, creates meditation cushion. When you buy a cushion, one gets donated to a veteran, and they're amazing cushions, probably the nicest I have ever seen. And also the founder of Mindful Memorial Foundation, which does an amazing thing. And that's how I met Ben. And through my friend Anthony Scaletta, who is an amazing veteran. And we went down and volunteered with Ben. And I'm going to ask Ben to tell a little bit about his story, a little bit about Armor Down and Mindful Memorial Foundation, and the great event that's coming up, Mindful Memorial Day online. So Ben, thank you so much for coming and welcome. And please, could you tell us a little bit about your story?
I always wanted to join the military. I always wanted to be a part of the armed services. And my hope was that by becoming a soldier, I would be able to not feel sad or inadequate or doubt or worry or fear. Right after September 11th, ended up getting deployed to Iraq. After I got back from Iraq, I kind of believed that I had achieved like the goal of my story, right? I'm going to become this warrior and everything's going to be kind of easier from there. And what happened was that wasn't the case. Traumas that I had experienced leading up to going to war, combined with the traumas of war, really had an impact on me when I came home. And I was incapable of kind of managing what was going on inside myself, especially my mind, with the tools that I had learned in the military and I had learned throughout my life. And while those tools worked in the military and in the combat environment, they didn't work at home. And so I was really at a loss coming home for how to manage my mind, my body, and my spirit. And so I kind of did the tried and true method of self-medication and distraction and things like that. And the problem with those things is they're just not sustainable. And so after things kind of fell apart, I got lucky. I was turned on to mindfulness by a friend and learned mindfulness in the VA. And the thing that struck me right away was just how simple it was. And what I learned, and I didn't understand it at the time, but what I learned was that mindfulness is really just about paying attention and then what you do with what you become more and more aware of. And so as I started to pay attention, I started to realize just how the opposite of mindfulness is mindless. So I started to realize first how mindlessly, without any attention, without any kind of awareness, I was just living my life and just kind of running into my traumas or my issues or my inability to sleep with just kind of a bullheaded kind of determination to just like whatever, suck it up, push through. And so when I started to realize just how mindlessly I was managing my mind, my body, and my spirit, I started to see what it would look like to be more mindful. And so to be more mindful is to pay attention. How am I doing what I'm doing and why? And when I started to learn just how powerful that could be, it was pretty significant, first and foremost, because I was able to sleep again. And so once I started to get sleep back, I was like, okay, this is clearly something of value, and it's clearly something not on many veterans' radars because it was still early in the realm of learning about this stuff. So back in 2008, 2009, mindfulness was not mainstream like it is now. And so I said to myself, well, how can we find ways to get more military mindset people involved with mindfulness? And so we tried at first to use kind of like people's intellect. We would say, look, here's the science. Here's what the science says about mindfulness, and in particular, insomnia. Science says you should do it. Lots of people have insomnia. Here's an opportunity to try it. And people reacted with, okay, appreciate it. Thank you for sharing this with me. But it really didn't have an impact. We brainstormed. We said, okay, well, how do we connect a warrior mindset to something that's not necessarily part of a warrior mindset? And the idea was, well, what are things that warriors already do that could be easily associated with paying attention or being fully focused? And the idea was, well, warriors honor the fallen, and they do that with their fullest attention. So it's like, oh. So that's where when we created Mindful Memorial Day, because the idea was, well, why don't we just associate mindfulness with something people already feel connected to in their hearts, not their heads. So already in their hearts. And so in 2014, 7 years ago, actually it was 2013 when we did it the first time, but 2014 when it became like officially Mindful Memorial Day, we created Mindful Memorial Day and created a presentation at Arlington National Cemetary where we hung yellow ribbons to honor every service member who's died since 9/11. And we gave those ribbons away with the names of fallen warriors on them in an exchange called a mindful moment of gratitude. These are what the ribbons look like. They have our symbol, which you can see in your background. It's the same symbol in my background. And then you can see that they have the name of a service member, where they're from, the date they died. And so we would give those away. And when people would say, well, what are we doing? I'd say, well, we're going to honor a fallen warrior, and we're going to do it in a way that's really focused. And people would say, well, of course, that's what they deserve. And so then the conversation around, okay, well, how do you become fully focused? That's when it was pretty easy to kind of start talking about mindfulness, because it wasn't this intellectual hurdle. It was, you're already doing it. This is where it also is connected. And so that was in 2014. And that's when we realized that this is the way to go. And so fast forward to 2018, when I met you and Anthony, by that point, we had really taken the practice of mindfully honoring the fallen to different levels. And so by the time you guys showed up, we were actually going into Arlington Cemetery with these meditation cushions and sitting at the grave sites of fallen warriors and offering mindful moments of gratitude in that context. And so, you would go to Arlington and you would just see these rows and rows of people just sitting there, just quietly offering gratitude for sacrifice. You saw people connecting with Gold Star family members who were there, sharing their story. And people were just really curious and open and excited and warm to everyone who participated. Because what we were doing is we were just saying, look, we want to meet the sacrifices made on our behalf with our gratitude. And in that moment, we are united with them. And people got that immediately. Immediately. And so there was no, well, why would you do that? Or I don't know about this, or that's foreign, or it was none of that, not a single drop. And I know a lot of people who are not really intimate or connected to the military were a little hesitant, because Arlington might seem to someone who's never been there or participated to be kind of a scary place. It's where our dead warriors are, right? It's not like a friendly spot per se. But hundreds of people have been through now since we started the process, and it's just amazing. And mostly what matters is that what happens when you go to Arlington and what happens when you honor the dead is that you armor down. And so when you saw that picture of a warrior, all armored up, ready for war. They sit and all the armor comes off. And what's that reveal? That reveals an open heart. And when you connect with people with an open heart, it's very, very clear. You see it right away that people armor down and then they connect. And you connect in spirit and you connect heart to heart. And when that happens, everything in the body changes. So the biology changes, the mindset changes, and then we become more communal. We come together in that moment. And so that's what's been going on for the past since 2014. We've been doing that every year. And now this year, because of the pandemic, we've had to adjust. And now we're going to honor the fallen digitally. And kind of that's everything from then up to now.
Well, it's such an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing that.